Bloom, a podcast series for graduate studies at Charles Darwin University.
Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon.
Hello, I'm Mpho, one of the HDR students.
Not one of the stellar, amazing people that we have in this program. But I'm so thrilled to have you join us for our wonderful podcast series, Bloom. And you're looking magnificent, sitting in my office. This is just joyous. But tell us, and I've had the privilege of reading your research in the last week since you contacted me, and it's just phenomenal. But could you tell us a little bit, for all our listeners, the incredible research that you're doing on midwifery and the maternal, the neonatal outcomes for a very special group in our community? Can you tell us about that?
Okay, thank you, Tara, and thank you for the privilege to try the podcast.
Brilliant.
So really my research, looking at it, it's around women from a refugee background. And I know when I say that, sometimes people do get confused about what women from a refugee background, what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Because when you read research, you find that research will talk about migrants, you talk about refugees, it will talk about asylum seekers.
Yes.
And these are people who leave their countries to come to high-income countries, because my research is based on high-income countries.
Yes.
But I think it's important, before I even go into my research, to define those terms so that people really understand what my research is all about.
Yes.
Because when you read research just combines these groups of people together. Yes, they do have similar challenges, but they will have differences, really. So let me define the terms.
Oh, this is brilliant. So we've got refugees, we've got migrants, we've got asylum seekers. Tell us about those terms and then what your focus was. Very interesting.
Yeah, so migrants are people who choose to leave their country. It's a choice.
Yes.
For better livelihoods. I always put myself in that category because I'm from Zimbabwe, came to Australia to work. So I'm considered a migrant. If you look at refugees and asylum seekers, they both left their countries, not by choice, but because of war and conflict. And they've left all that they knew to come to a different country. They all have left their countries due to war, but the differences are, when they get to the country, asylum seekers are still waiting for their citizenship to be approved in the new country, whereas refugees have been given that citizenship. So that's the difference, really, because I think it's important to put it out there to say my research is based on women who've been given citizenship in Australia, so they're now Australian citizens.
Can I just say, and I know all the listeners will be thinking this too, that you demonstrated there a level of clarity in analysis and in definitional work that I've rarely heard through my career. And so you've come up with this magnificent exploration of refugees in particular. And so why was the focus therefore on maternal health and well-being for that group? What particular challenges have emerged there?
Okay. Refugees have come from their country, come to Australia. It's a totally different country, and we'll put them out there. They are vulnerable populations.
Yes.
Because they are from they're minority culture, so they face a lot of challenges, which leads to poor outcomes that I'm going to talk about. But really, if you're looking at the challenges, you realize that they're seeking maternity care in unfamiliar environments, totally different from what they know.
Wow.
And they have social challenges as well. Most of refugee women don't, work. They're of poor socioeconomic background due to work and education, because even if I was educated back in my country, the education doesn't match the Australian standards. So even if I was working a good job in my country, I'll find myself starting to work from the bottom up. So really that puts them in those challenges. And then women don't drive. And if you look at the maternity care settings, how do I reach a tertiary hospital? If I have got kids, that's even more difficult, because then I have to put my kids in a bus, I'm pregnant, and I have to go to the hospital. That's challenging.
Wow.
And then mental health challenges. War, conflict, social upheaval, sexual stuff that happens in those conflict areas, women carry those into the news. So they come to Australia with a lot of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorders. So
wow, I hadn't thought through any of that. I thought when I was doing so much of your research and looking at your research that there would be a much greater focus on that moment of maternal care. But actually you're demonstrating clearly the whole human being is coming to the pregnancy, and the whole human being is being cared for through that pregnancy and in postnatal care. And this is your argument is this is a very different population with different care needs.
Definitely different care needs. Because if you're talking about midwifery, we always talk about holistic care.
Yes.
It's not just about the health, it's about the physical health, the mental health, the emotional health, the spiritual health. A woman as a whole is important. So I've talked about social challenges, mental health challenges, but then they speak a different language. It's a different culture. And the way that they see childbirth in their countries is totally different in the Western world. Western world is so medicalized. There's lots of machines and stuff that they're not really used to from wherever they come from. And, I know sometimes when I talk about discrimination and racism, these are things that sometimes we shy away from talking, but women do experience these.
Yes.
Because, they're different. So these are some of the challenges. And what all these challenges do then, and the way that the maternity services are set up, they do not meet all these needs that I'm talking about. So some women might choose not to come to receive care. And we know that antenatal care or pregnancy care is so pivotal for the woman's health and the unborn child's health. Because we need to make sure that, we maintain the woman's health or the whole being of the woman really healthy so that we can have a healthy baby. And we are setting up life for generations, really, if we're talking about midwifery.
Wow, you're an inspirational woman. My goodness me. And it is amazing, absolutely amazing to me to think through how discrimination and how racism operates at that moment of childbirth. We often think about racism as emerging at, crucial modes or moments of a human's life. But how racism operates in and through childbirth, I'd never thought about that. And that's why your research is so remarkable. And I wonder why, you're this incredibly inspirational human being. What brought you to do a PhD at this point of your life?
Okay, really I did my PhD. I'll kind of throw a caveat there. I did a PhD so that I could have a voice. My really biggest passion is to see maternity care services changed, particularly in the low and middle income countries. I come from Zimbabwe and I know how midwifery looks like back there. And really, I thought if I have a voice, my passion is to go back home and, change a few things in the midwifery space. And when I came to do a PhD, my initial topic was respectful maternity care back home, but COVID had different ideas.
Of course.
So that's why I ended up doing, refugee and immigrant health is a passion of mine in high-income countries. Really wanted to do that stuff. I was thinking about it the other day because when I wanted to do my master's, I was looking for a master's in refugee and immigrant health. But I couldn't find that. Then I had to do, international health, really,
yes.
My master's. So I was just thinking about it the other day and I'm like, actually, I've come back full circle. I'm doing refugee and immigrant health in this space, and it's given me an opportunity to really dig deep into the issues that we have. And can I say what an incredibly, again, inspirational story you've offered there, because so many people have talked about the problems of COVID-19 in the doctoral space, and the most astonishing students, and I put you in that group, the most astonishing students took on board the pivot that they were going to have to make intellectually, personally and socially, and created a transformative doctorate on the basis of the limitations
of COVID and rendered that into a strength. And you've done that.
I have, yeah, definitely I've done that.
Now, what do you think, because obviously some of my best friends are midwives, as you may know, what is the gift, do you think, of midwifery research? Midwifery research came quite late to higher education, to our universities, and yet midwives are producing some of the most innovative research I've ever seen, of which your PhD is an example. So what do you think is special about midwifery research?
Yeah, before I go into midwifery research, I think I'll just talk about midwifery as a profession,
yes,
how special it is. I think as midwives we are privileged to be at the beginning of life, at the beginning of new generations. And I think that's really, really, really important, because midwifery just doesn't look at the woman now, really setting up a trajectory for generations to come. So if we get it right at the beginning, really, we get it right in the future. And research, midwifery research comes in that space. If we can improve maternity care services and outcomes for mothers and babies, I think we are doing that. And I think midwifery research is so important.
I agree with you, and I've always had an argument that we need more research focused on the first 1,000 hours of life and the last 1,000 hours of life. You know, I trained as a death doula in the last few years, and we need to focus on beginnings and endings a lot more than we do.
I agree.
Final question to help me and help other people listening to this, and I'm getting quite teary. You are an astonishing person. I knew you would be. But what would you recommend to all the other midwives around the world who will listen to this, who are maybe thinking a PhD could be of benefit to them, to their families, to their communities? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, look, I would say, because midwifery is, this is my perspective about midwifery. Midwifery really is about caring. It's about bringing love and passion to the space. And I know sometimes when you say love, people think about feelings and that, but love is making a decision to preserve the dignity of those that you care for. Really, for me, if someone was thinking about doing midwifery research, what's your passion? What's driving you? Is it coming from that space of love? Because I've come to realize that love is the highest emotion, what that can create a lot of good. So if whatever I'm doing, like right now, I'm doing my research for improving outcomes for women from a refugee background, and I feel that passion, and I think everyone knows when I start talking about it, I light up, because it's my passion and it comes from that space of love. And I would say to my fellow midwives and researchers, whoever, whatever you do it from that space of love. Whatever you do, whether it's research or clinical work, put yourself in that space. I know it's hard, I know it's challenging, because women, especially if they come from different backgrounds, you don't understand. Just open up yourself to learning more about the woman. When you understand women and understand their needs, it will give you joy in your work, really, because then you'll be working from that point of understanding. We say in midwifery, it's a partnership. The woman and the midwife together. The researcher and the women and the midwives that I was working with, together we're trying to create something new. So really it's about forming that, connection with whoever you are working with. That's what I would say.
I feel changed from our conversation today, and glibly we talk about a PhD as having an original contribution to knowledge. But I think what you've shared with us in this session today is the role of love and compassion and kindness and openness and listening and decency. And we open ourselves, as you've said, we open ourselves to love. We also open ourselves to knowledge and innovation and creating a better future. And I thank you for everything that you've done and everything you will do. And you embody the best of what this university is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tara, for your kind words and for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this podcast from Charles Darwin University. If you are interested in our graduate programs, please feel free to contact me, Tara Brabazon, at CDU.